Okay, this is lesson number 1 about Bogo-Indian, and I will show you c5 move. c5 is very interesting option, but black's idea is to fight for the dark squares, but I think that this is not dangerous for white, and in this system white has a good chances to get a clear advantage in the middle game. So because white has a pawn advantage in the center after this exchange. Okay, there are a lot of options here. G3 is playable, E3 is very interesting too, but I recommend you queen to D3. It was played many times by such strong grandmaster like Vladimir Yepishin, and Vladimir Yepishin was a big specialist in this knight f3 opening. And okay, queen d3, short castle, and now knight b to d2. Yeah, the idea of this move, queen d3, is to play e4 and not to develop the bishop in g2, but develop this bishop on e2. Okay, now d6, e4. Yes, and in this setup, black has two ideas. First is to develop the knight on c6, and then to break the center with e5 move. And the second plan is just to develop the queen side with b6, bishop to b7, knight b to d7, and so on. Okay, first I want to show you how to deal with this aggressive, not aggressive, but the most logical idea, knight c6 and bishop b2 and e5. Okay, and now the problem that after d5, knight b8, a3, very important option, and black, of course, in case of a5, knight a6, knight c5, black has a fantastic position because black occupy dark squares, but the problem that black is not on time to do this, and after e3, a5 doesn't work because of this, and the pawn is pinned. So after knight a6, yes, in case of this move, before very unpleasant, and again after this pawn is, and now maybe even c5 is very important. And also I want to say that in this system, I mean c5 move, this is very typical. This c5 break is one of the main ideas for white here. Knight to a6, take, knight to b4, queen to c3, and queen to b6. Yeah, I think that after this c5 is quite unpleasant. Okay, queen to b6. Yeah, but now rook c1, the idea is to play c5. And after c5, black has a unpleasant position, and white has a clear positional advantage. So, what about b6? Yes, and here very important this idea bishop e2, bishop d1, and bishop a4. And this is why white plays queen d3 instead of knight b to d2 immediately. Bishop to d1 and bishop a4. Very nice positional idea. I like this maneuver. Okay, e5, bishop a4, queen to c7, rook to e1, rook to e8, a3. Again, a3 is a very typical option because this is a very good for white to exchange, to remove this pawn and to exchange these pawns, because and to strengthen the position in the center after this exchange. Okay, b takes a3, queen takes a3, a6, now bishop to c2, rook a to d1, g6, bishop to b1. So in this game it was played like this, but very often it makes sense to take on d4 and then maybe to play d5. So yeah, now the second very also typical knight to g3, very important not to play d5 now for white, rook to d7, queen to d2. Yes, and this is a very unpleasant position for black because the king is weak, white wants to play queen to g5, then knight to f5, and so it was taken the game. But now we have that this pawn structure is terrible for black. The pawn d6 is very bad, very weak, not very weak, but okay, this isolated pawn. Yes, and I think that now and then f4, f5, and okay, and we see that rook on f4 is awkward, and white has a very strong pawns d5, f5, and it seems that black is losing here. Okay, I think finally the conclusion that queen d3 is very important, and then it depends. In case of black plays e5 and knight c6, we play d5 and then a3, and in case of this plan, white has to memorize the idea to improve this bishop with bishop d1 and bishop a4.